Thanks for joining us today, Kat.
No
Tell us
worries
about,
at all.
okay, tell us about yourself. Tell us your story and how you got started.
So I'm Cat Merrick, and my business is called This Vibrant Life, and I help women find their joy, own their power, and transform the way they understand and respond to stress. So I have a multi-layered embodied approach which involves coaching conversations and then using modalities such as yoga, dance, meditation, and functional breath work. And so it's about educating people around stress and then giving them the tools and the support that help them on an individual level, because not everybody's the same, to really step into their self leadership so that they can live their version of a vibrant life. So we're only here once, well, that we know of anyway, and there's so much in life that can pull us down that I think it's really important that we make time to find the things that make it more vibrant. And so it's been a very multifaceted journey. So I've always been involved in dance. I did a dance degree, and I've always been involved in dance. So dance has always played a part in different ways, from being a community dance artist and working in schools, both as a freelance artist, but also as a teacher. So I'm also qualified as a school teacher, and I worked in a performing arts department for 10 years. So I've got that background, and then yoga kind of came in as well. So again, that played a part because when I was younger, I found yoga when I was 14, because I live with eczema, and I remember hearing something about it was good for stress, and I knew it was all interlinked. And then came back to it as a dancer for flexibility, and then came back to it again as when I was a teacher for that sense of mental health support and just to bring that level of calm back. And when I went back to it, then that's when I knew I had to train. So I trained as a yoga teacher. So that's 10 years now as a yoga teacher, and then functional breath work as well. That has entered into the mix in probably in the last 5 years, and the coaching as well. So I feel like I pick up different things along the way, but they all group together to provide this like melting pot of approaches and techniques and things. So when I do work with people, I've got different elements to pick up, to connect into and share with them. So every person might get a slightly different part of what I know, but I can kind of channel that into what they might need in that moment. And for some people, that might actually be, are you breathing effectively? And can I help get your foundational breath working more efficiently for you? And for others, it's getting them to move and to dance and to loosen up. And for others, it's some, yoga postures, and all combined in with coaching. And so I mentioned that I was a teacher and kind of stepped in, well, my kind of business. I've always kind of had a little bit of freelance work as a dance artist, but then when I was a teacher, I stopped that. But then as I trained as a yoga teacher, I stepped back into that world of running your own business, even, self-employed, freelance. And so it grew from there. And then in recent years, I rebranded and became This Vibrant Life. After running a retreat, I kind of had this, this rebrand that came up. And so I've shifted in short little ways through that journey. And I guess where I'm at currently is I had a dream in November 2024 after feeling like I was a little bit like, where am I going with everything? Where am I actually going with everything? I am at this point of recording this 46, and so perimenopause came into my life at age 41. So I'm 5 or 6 years in. I think I'm actually 6 years in because I remember a post the other day that was, I was like, whoa, it's been 6 years. And so that kind of throws things up. It makes you think differently. Things change, your energy, your outlook. And so I knew I had to work on my own way of being as well. But it really put into like it made me think about actually what I was doing. And I used to go to bed and I just ask my subconscious, what do I need to know? What do I need to know? What am I missing? And eventually my subconscious answered me in the form of a dream in November 2024. And it was literally like somebody was talking in my ear, and it said cat. Well, actually, it didn't say cat. I've added that bit for effect. But cat, you're here to be an educator and you have to tell people about stress. And so when I woke up that morning, I was like, oh, okay, yes, yeah, that makes sense because I'm teaching yoga, I'm teaching dance, and I know that all helps with stress. But I never spoke explicitly about it. And I had the teaching background, and of course, I'm just teaching anyway. So I was like, well, okay, that makes sense. It's not completely out of what I'm already doing. But I could start relating it to like different parts of my life. And then I mentioned earlier that I live with eczema, and when I'm in those periods of stress, my skin can flare up. Not my skin doesn't always flare up because of stress, but stress can impact that, and then that brings a layer of stress itself. It's like a cycle. And so it just made me realize, yes, I've got all of those tools, but I don't really, the message that I put out there isn't necessarily talking about stress. So it just helped me rearrange how I approach things. And also, I went on a bit of a deep dive then because I thought, okay, great. Yeah, I have the tools. I think I know about stress. I've experienced enough and I know about it. But let's back this up. Let's go and do that deep research. And so, I spent months then reading like the science and what other people have written about stress. And it made me realize there was a little bit missing from the general narrative. And so that really helped me to approach things in a way that I can share what actually works, what helps, demystify like all the jargon out there, and still use the tools that I was doing. So that's kind of taken me up to where I am now. And so I've found that more and more this year, at the end of last year and this year, I'm being invited to be a guest speaker around stress and sharing ways that you can complete the stress response cycle and deal with the stressor. And really, we're never going to get rid of stress. We're never going to have a completely stress-free life, but it's about understanding how it impacts us, how our behaviors are being shown, and recognizing that, and that self-awareness of what we can do on a personal level. And also then, is the stressor is the thing that's causing the stress within our control? And if not, what needs to happen around that? So it's that self-empowerment. And we're recording this, and it's Stress Awareness Month at the moment, and the topic, I guess, is called Be the Change. And it really is about, no one else is going to come and go, you're stressed out, love. Let's do this to make sure you're not going to suffer and then end up with illness and whatnot down the line. No one's going to do that, because everybody's more concerned about themselves. And I think it's really about being the change for yourself and stepping into your own power and realizing that you have the power to be in the driver's seat. And so then there's all the mindset and the coaching that comes into that. And so that's where I currently am. And there's another little arm that I'm adding in now because I'm learning to DJ. And you and I both know the power of being on a dance floor when the house music is on, and the empowering lyrics that can come through that, and that tempo and that movement, making the body move, and the way you feel after. Now I can go, well, you've actually just completed your stress response. So, and we know it shifts energy, we know it brings joy and vibrancy. So to be able to, instead of just create my playlist, to now be able to mix it and add that in, I'm really excited to put that element in. Who knows where that's going to go? Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be running my own festivals soon.
Yeah. Keep the vision big.
But yeah, that's where I guess where we are at the moment with this vibrant life.
Yeah. And it's incredible as well how you have gone almost come full circle in some respects as well, like when you're going back to that teaching element and being that educator. I mean, with the modalities that you've mentioned, so obviously with your yoga and your breath work, are they tools that you come back to yourself as a practitioner? Sometimes we lose, not necessarily lose that, but do you have a regular practice within what you do on a day to day?
Yeah, and you can absolutely. There are times where I lose that practice, and I guess for me at the moment, I am living with a pinched nerve in my lower back, which has actually been quite debilitating. And in the mornings, it is all my at the end of last year, I had some really, what I felt like were some really positive morning habits. And I'd used habit stacking and things like that, if anybody's read Atomic Habits by James Clear. And so I'd built up a really solid morning. And then in January, I had this big eczema flare and I had this issue with my back, and I've been in so much pain in the mornings that it's about survival in the mornings. And the only thing I do, it's about managing it and hydrating and connecting into my breath. And so the breath work element, so I'm trained in the Buteyko clinic method, and it's really about your everyday breath, the foundations of your breath, rather than a specific, like Wim Hof breathing. Like, I'm the foundation to make sure if you do Wim Hof, it's going to be the most efficient, the most effective for you. And it helps with sleep and everything like that. So it really saddens me because I had been teaching yoga for like gyms and studios and not running my own classes for the last couple of years. And one of the things this year was there was a new venue opened and I had that earmarked and I was going to start my own classes. And I did, but I've been in that much pain that I've had to put it on pause. And I was like, it's a weird thing because tomorrow marks my 10-year anniversary of teaching yoga. So what I'm finding is I am finding little pockets, and it's mainly in the evening because the mornings I just can't do it. I mean, let's be real, the breath element is still part of yoga, but the asana practice, the yoga postures, I am finding that I'm just finding little pockets of time for that in the evenings. But one of the things when I can get that full ease of movement back will be making that time again for me just to be in my yoga practice. So at the moment that has paused, and I'm finding the sense of presence in little moments, but using the training that I have in the Buteyko clinic method just to calm my nervous system and let my breath settle, so that, because again, with pain, there's so much from the brain and the nervous system, that if I can settle my breath, at least there's a little bit of safety signal. And then as I move through the morning, the pain gets less. So it's been very humbling, actually, this pain, and made me reassess quite a few things. And just the amount of I can't find the words today, but the how much we take for granted just getting out of bed and being able to just go through your morning, maybe, a little bit achy, a little bit stiff, but no big pain. Like, oh, I'm going to enjoy that morning when I get back to that, when I can just get out of bed. And then I'll be like, right, body, what are we going to do? And take that time. And it shouldn't always take something like this to get us to that point, but here we are.
It
I'm
is,
human.
and I suppose the big thing there is that you're taking a blessing from it, and it's that kind of sometimes till we get to that point, and whether that is an injury or burnout, and people sometimes have to get to that point before then they start appreciating or taking a step back and seeing what a gift life can be as well.
Yeah.
And it's like when you're saying it comes back to the breath, it's something that I teach in my sessions as well. The breath's always with you, it's the one constant. But sometimes well, even when you're watching TV, you're sitting there and you're like, I've not breathed, I'm holding my breath. And it's like, how can you come back to yourself through your breath? And it's just that sense of grounding, isn't it, really?
Yeah. And you know what? People live with dysfunctional breathing patterns. And because it's something that just happens, you don't necessarily need to think about it. People can be unaware of actually how their breath is impacting them. And if you're breathing quite kind of quick and shallow, that's putting you in hypervigilance. Then your nervous system is looking out for the threat, and you're so close to tipping yourself into a stress response, and perhaps you already are. But that, the use of the diaphragm, the posture, the slowness and the lightness of the breath to actually get the oxygen into the cells of the body. It's a little bit misunderstood, and I see it all the time, like take a big deep breath in, and then it's like it's massive and it's loud and it's fast, and I'm like, well, actually that's got no more oxygen into your body because it's in and out before the cells have had time to take it into the body. So whilst your breath is with you all the time, I really do encourage people to be aware, like how many, if you were to count your breaths, how many breaths would you take per minute? And if it's above 14 breaths per minute, there is a huge amount of room to improve, and just slow that breath down. And if you can practice 6 breaths per minute, which is, around five counts in, five out, for a few minutes a day, that can really support and help. Along with nasal breathing, there's about 30 different functions the nose actually plays in breathing, and the mouth plays 0. It's like it's just in and out, and actually you dehydrate yourself by breathing in and out of the mouth. So it's a very simple, very overlooked part of what you can do day to day. No one even needs to know that you're doing it, but if you can spend some time through the day just paying attention, you can retrain the breath. And actually lung function, I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and it was Dr. Chatterjee speaking to James Nestor, who wrote Breath, and that's actually how I got into training in the Buteyko method. And one of the facts that I'd forgotten about is that lung function begins to decline from the age of 30. So if we're not actually using the lungs, they start to actually reduce in size. And so breathing habits and using using the rib cage, the diaphragm, and finding that depth to our breath actually can help prolong your life, because it's something that we might not pay attention to as we go through life.
And that's interesting then as well, isn't it? Because that's like adds to that longevity, but also it's something where you don't need any fancy equipment. You don't need a gym membership. And it's that small change that could make a big impactful
Oh
change.
yeah, yeah, huge. And it's and it's I want to tell everyone in the gym as well. I'm like, try and breathe through your nose first. Like if you're doing intense exercise, at some
Yeah,
point you might need to breathe through your mouth. But
yeah,
I see it time and time again. People start huffing and puffing straight away. They've not even given themselves a chance. And you know what? It is free, and some people can like pick up a book like Breath, or Oxygen Advantage, and read that and go and get on with it. But some people might need a little bit of support and accountability and things like that, and that's where, working with somebody like me, I can help. And as an asthmatic as well, and that's one of the other reasons that I trained in the Buteyko method, is because I did get quite into like the Wim Hof method. So you had the ice baths and then the breathing, and the breathing within the Wim Hof method is cyclic hyperventilation with breath holds. And I really like it. I'm not saying that I don't like it, but what did happen when I was doing it by myself, it actually triggered my asthma, and I couldn't work out why. And then that, now I'm trained in Buteyko, I completely understand why. And actually, the hyperventilation doesn't help anybody who is an asthmatic. So this is then where you kind of look at the spectrum of breath work and go, there is a breath work practice for everybody, but not everybody should try every single breathwork practice. And so I like to think of the Buteyko method as the absolute foundation to improve your breathing, your actual breathing. It's not breath work, it's your breathing. And then it gives you an understanding of your tolerance of like CO2 and how you breathe, your lung capacity and things like that. So if you were to go and do something extreme like the Wim Hof method breathing, you've got a better, you'll get more from it, and you'll also understand your breathing patterns as well.
yeah. And that's the key then, isn't it? So it's gaining that knowledge, but also that kind of, like you say, an accountability, which can be so important to people to ensure that they're taking it on board, but also having that point of reference that you can just draw them back as well.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes it's just people like to be checked in with, having that little check in and going, all right, well, I did this week. And somebody sometimes going, all right, have you actually practiced? And I talk about self-leadership and having that accountability, but sometimes you need someone else that gives you that sense of, oh, I'm going to do this, and then I can refer back and tell them I've done this, and then what's next, and you've got that little bit of support. And some people don't need it and others thrive on it, and it's finding out who are you as a person. Can you read a book, go, wow, yeah, I'm going to try this, and actually get on with it and do it? Or once you put that book down, do you forget?
Yeah. Or
And
anything, or if you're anything like me, I've got numerous books on the go.
yeah.
Dipping into all of them at any point and highlighting different bits. And I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but it just seems there's so many opportunities now for people to undertake these different modalities, practices, but it's having that space to be able to explore as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And
Definitely.
then once you've got it, you can do that at any point. You don't always need to go to a class or have, support from a coach or anything like that. It's about just instilling new behavior, new understanding, and then it's yours. You can come back to it at any point.
Yeah, and part of that empowerment then as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
Empowering people to
completely.
be able to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. So talk about kind of your DJing and your joy. Obviously, you're in pain at the moment, but what kind of things do you do to light yourself up when you are feeling well or able?
Well, yeah, obviously the and I part of like my let me get my words in order. My tagline is find your joy and own your power. And that really, and I try and live by that. And so, yes, my mornings have been flipped upside down and I have pain, but I am always on the lookout for those moments. Like it could be as simple as my little cat sitting on my chest and purring with her little paws tucked under her chin, and I'm like, I'm lasering that into my brain, like, oh, this is, she's choosing to sit on my chest, spend a morning with me, and really, and at the end of the day as well, writing in my gratitude journal. And so when we do that, and you know all this already, Marie, but if somebody's listening to this, what actually happens is when we're looking back on the day and writing out every little moment that either brought us joy or we're just really grateful for, like my son did the vacuuming for me because I was like, oh God, I can't do this. And he's like, I'll do it for you, and like having that real sense of gratitude just for those moments. When we write that down, when we replay it, when we feel that sense of gratitude, we start to train the brain to look for it more. So my days are filled with joy, and I still might have a little cry and be in pain, but I've got my disco balls that shimmer the sunlight off. I've got my music. Like house music for me is one of the biggest joys. And so my husband bought me these DJ lessons for Christmas, and it is it's like it's a new skill, so I'm learning something new, so it's really good for your brain and longevity and new pathways, and it's a big distraction as well for when I'm in pain, and I'm stood up when I'm doing it as well, so generally I'm fine when I'm upright. And it just to be able to like have the music that brought me to life when I was a teenager, and like be able to still love it and mix it and learn that skill. It's like my body's just lit up. Every little cell is just lit up. And so music and things like festivals and dance floors, they all bring me so much joy. And I know not everybody, that's not for everybody, but you don't have to get drunk or anything like that. You just the movement and the joy of being with other people as well. It's not always a solo thing, although dance in my kitchen will shift my mood. But I also love, like I said, like my little cat sat on me, reading a good book, appreciating the beauty of the flowers that are outside, the wildlife, nature. Like I am so tuned in with what actually makes me smile, which brings that joy in. That I know I make time for it in my day. Um, but I can forget, and sometimes I'll be like, oh, I've not listened to any music, and so just sticking the music on instantly, it's like my body goes, oh, we know what to do. And I love a bit of comedy as well. And I'm sure any other perimenopausal women out there listening to this, when you get that 3 a.m. wake up and you're like, there's no chance I'm getting back to sleep. I've been watching that last one laughing. And so in the middle of the night, I'll be like, oh, this is really good fun. And it's taken my mind off. And then I'll go back to bed and I'm in a different place so I can get back to sleep. So you know, um, lots, buy new stationery. Oh, that's a joy in itself, isn't it? Like
Is that the teacher in you, or is
journals and
that something that you
books and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and I really do encourage people to recognize, what is it? For some people, it's gardening.
know?
I mean, I'm not green fingered. I can just about keep my house plants alive, although the one I'm looking at over there looks pretty sorry for itself. Cooking, and because I eat gluten free and dairy free, like when I make a meal that's just delicious and I'm like, oh, this has got everything in that it feels good to me. Like those things bring me joy. So I could go on, but that's what I really encourage people to do. Like, do you actually know what brings you joy? And if not, go find it, and like experiment. I tried a bit of crocheting as well over winter, and I was like, oh yeah, I liked it. I like doing this. I'm going to keep that as a winter hobby though, because now we've got more light. I want to get outside as much as I can. But yeah, so much. I have so much joy, and the pain can knock me sideways, but I always come back to the joy. And I know that's going to help heal me quicker.
Yeah. And it's the things that light you up though as well, isn't it? Like finding those moments of gratitude, appreciation. And it doesn't have to be the big things. It can be those little things that we perhaps take for granted, but when we notice how blessed we are in that moment, it just helps that kind of capacity to be able to see, like you're saying, to be able to see more of that, because life is heavy at the moment, and it's finding those moments that do really make a big difference, and again can be underrated. But yeah,
Yeah. And that's it. I think it's acknowledging
mm,
that there are heavy moments. For me, there's been a lot of health, as well as the back, my skin, my eczema flared up, um, which was really a real challenge. And for other people, there's going to be lots of different things. I mean, the world itself feels overwhelming, with all the different things going on. But like everybody's responsible for their own thoughts and ways of being, and they're shaped of course by circumstance and experiences and all of that. But if you can find your way to step into that self leadership and go, actually, this is what I'm choosing. I'm going to do this. Yes, it's heavy, but I also have a right to feel joyful. And you know what? When we feel joy, it takes us out of, it's the antidote to stress. And when we're out of stress, we think more clearly. And if we are kept in a sense of fear and uncertainty, we can't think clearly and find the ways that actually help ourselves and humanity to find that path to liberation and all of the good stuff, because we're just reacting from survival. So things like choosing yourself, choosing joy, choosing to find a laugh in your day, actually it's it it takes you closer to that vibrant life. It's not about going, oh, just ignore the crap, ignore it, ignore it. It's going, right, yeah, do you know what? That's really bad. And can I do anything about that? And if you can, you take those actions, but also regulating your nervous system through movement, through breath, and finding joy will all give you something that is moving you forwards. And it might not always feel like that, but you could be the light for someone else that gives them the spark to go, oh yeah, I can feel like that as well.
and sometimes that happens when you're not expecting it, because obviously you're not doing it for an audience. You're just being yourself. You're being your vibrant self. And sometimes when people recognize that or see that light within you, they won't always tell you, but you never know who you are impacting as well with that.
Yeah,
that way of thinking.
Absolutely.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
And and everybody deserves to have joy in their life.
absolutely.
Everybody.
Mm. So what would be your go to track? Obviously, talking music, as we're both music lovers. Which song do you ever have moments where there's a song that's played and then you put it back on repeat straight away because you're just getting into your zone, like getting into it. So what track would you say is your
I've got like a little playlist. And actually it's a free download, and it's just three songs, but they're just so empowering. And there's one that is a David Penn track, and it's asking you, like, do you believe in the fire that's in your soul? Come on and stand up. And it's like, oh, all of this like purpose and energy,
what
just
was that? David Penn? Who?
David Penn, stand up.
Stand up.
And the lyric, because I really find the lyrics empowering in house music. So I'm very particular about the tracks that I do play, because there's a load of great house music tracks that are like all about heartache and things like that. But I'm like, that's not, I need something else to like empower the people that might be listening to this. So like, and Jocelyn Brown, Believe is another one. Robin S, Show Me Love. I mean, just the tempo and the drive of that track, and it's all. And I've used that at a festival before, when I've taught at a festival, and I've said, instead of like you asking someone else, it's like it's your higher self asking you, show me love. And how does, if you can flip that, what would you do differently if you could show yourself some love? So those are really good. But there's a whole array of house tracks like Promised Land, Joe Smooth. I absolutely love, and that's from like something like 1989, and it
But
still
just a
stands
baby.
today. Still stands today. Um, and there's obviously a lot of the 90s and early noughties tracks that are very dear to me, but there's some great music coming out now as well. Anything that can make me dance and sing along is always a winner.
Absolutely. There is. And like you're saying, some of the tracks that you mentioned there are the ones that I do play an awful lot of. And it's like, and like you say with modern music, but with the older tracks, you've got that longevity with them because they're still connecting to certain parts of you that light you up, that bring you joy, but just have that sense of connection to self in that moment as well.
Yeah, completely. And the 90s were, that kind of coming out of that, the 80s rave culture and things like that. And I was a working class girl, grew up on a council estate, and then to be on a dance floor at a club, or even like a little warehouse rave, and it's just this connection and the music, and it was like a huge release. And of course, like looking back now, you can see actually what was happening. There was connection, there was community, there was, you're completing the stress response, you're getting that oxytocin and those feel good chemicals like that you're naturally producing. And it was, it was just a bit of escapism, but also regulating your nervous system. And now we can see that the science has backed it up. I knew that. My body was like, I feel totally free. And then now I'm like, let's make that something that we use. And house music as well, it's inclusive, isn't it? All the tracks are like, we're all here as one. It's about love, it's about coming together. And yeah, and I just, yeah, it's more than just music to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've got me, you've got me there. You had me at hello. It is yeah, I know. I am. Music will always be the answer to everything. And like you're saying, the community, the connection, the beating heart of it is just wraps you up, and within that space you are safe. And
Yeah.
I'd seen something today on social media about women in their 40s dancing, raving, as if it's a new phenomenon. Um, but also the power that's in it. And it, like, yeah, because the woman that was saying it's been going for years, but suddenly now, like you say, in science, everything seems to be catching up with it and giving it that kind of recognition, which I think is amazing because, it's a big movement, but it's something that's been happening anyway. And, or even if you go back, like you can go back centuries, and it's like tribal, it's music, it's community, it's connection. It's not new. It's just given a different kind of light to it, I suppose.
Yeah, dance has always been like there's cave paintings from 400,000 years ago, whatever, whatever cave paintings are there, and they depict dance. So
Mm-hmm.
dance has been part of the human experience since forever. Rhythm, community, and that sense of collective movement. Um, and yeah, it is really good that the science is catching up because I've not stopped. I don't know. I was like, it's not new. However, I feel like we're able to extract the the actual bits that are supportive and almost kind of move away from the alcohol and the drugs and things like that, which still probably play a part for some people, but when you remove that, you've actually got still this collective experience that's really enriching, which is really supportive to your nervous system. And then you can still get that natural sense of euphoria and just with the music and the movement and being together. But I don't think some people allow themselves to experience it, because I also have a lot of women who say, "Oh, I can't dance if I'm not having a drink," or they connect dancing with then going out and having a drink. So if they start dancing, they're like, "Oh, I want a drink now." So
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting that connection. But it's actually a way to just feel good about yourself without having to then have the hangover and the after effects and things like that. So I think there's new spaces like that, and I guess maybe I mean, I've got a class called Rave and Release, which I've done online and I've done at events. And that is, I guess, the essence of what I've taken from the dance floor um, into a slightly different environment. And maybe as I kind of progress with the DJing, I can do like an in-person event that explores that, that's maybe not in the evening. I mean, I'm all for daytime raving. And then I can still be in bed for like 10, 11 o'clock. Bringing that experience, but making it suit us now as we're in our 40s, moving closer to 50, like there's slightly different things that we need, but we can still have that experience. It doesn't mean, oh, stop. But even then, going to a festival or, an event brings so much joy, and there's so much goodness that you can get from it. It's about just taking what you need, and you don't have to go and get drunk and all of those things.
Mm. Yeah. And it's interesting because I always think some of the best nights out, or the most kind of connected experience I've had, I've been I've probably not drank because I've probably
Mm,
driven somewhere to go, and then it's like getting
yeah.
there, and it's that getting carried away by the momentum of the evening. I'm a kind of one of those people that doesn't know, sometimes don't know when to leave because I just want more of it.
Yeah.
It's like a drug in itself. I just want to feel this. I want to carry on feeling like I'm feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, and having the freedom to go to an event without, where you can drive and things like that, that's always been of benefit. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. It's not. It's not. I can't say it's interesting. It is just. It's the way of the world. It's the way that we should go. There's more love, more music, and it's that kind of, yeah, that bigger bigger connection, bigger, yeah.
Yeah. And that connection that you can make on the dance floor in that moment, it just lights up different areas of the brain as well. And that combination of music and rhythm and layered up with the empowering lyrics, the connection with other people, moving together in sync. It's got there's a magic to it that I love now that science is going, this is good for you.
Mm. And I suppose that was I was just thinking then I was going off in a thought then thinking of yeah when like in however many years and 40 years sitting in the old people's home having a rave up or I'd seen a DJ that goes into old people's homes, elderly, yeah, homes for the elderly, um, and is playing music. But then you think like I always think of a previous generation where they'd be listening to music from the 40s and stuff. Well, we'll listen to music from the 90s and the 2000s, and it's going to be a very different experience.
Yeah, yeah.
But music is proved to help people with dementia and health conditions and things like that, isn't it? So
Oh yeah, definitely.
is your hearing one of the last senses to go as well when you are departing as well. So
But
it's
also
quite
some music, there's a part of your brain, I'm probably going to forget what it's called now, but when you listen to music, can I remember it? There's a dance doctor, Dr. Peter Lovett, and he wrote a book called The Dance Cure, and it's in that. But like there's music that when you hear it triggers the desire to move. I can't remember. I thought my brain, as I talked, my brain might remember the word, but it's not going to at this point. And your brain on music, it triggers the desire to move, and I test this sometimes because one of the songs that came out top for like funkability, if I get people to try and stay completely still whilst I play the song, and it is virtually impossible because your body's like, I just wanna move. But that is because you're listening to music and your brain is triggering. So this desire to move, still not coming to me. But when you have that again in homes for the elderly and things like that, it gives them an opportunity to move and to move their body when they might not necessarily choose to, but before they realize they're tapping their foot and their head, and then it's the music instigates that. I thought I had it then. I thought my brain had remembered before the end of this chat. I'm sure my brain will remember the word that I'm looking for.
and what was the song then that you play for?
Stevie Wonder, Superstition.
Oh, yeah, I do like
And
that.
when you that intro
Yeah,
and there's
yeah.
that bass and you're like, you're like, and I'm like, no, don't move, sit still. And you can see people's faces going, well, hang on, my body's like wanting to find it. And it was part of a Californian research study, and that came out the top from the songs that they used. I'm sure there's other songs that provide that as well. Um, yeah.
It's funny though. I was because when I was driving in the car with my children the other day, we were playing certain songs, and then some of them we just ended up doing like a huge little like singing like trio. Um, but even like we've got very different tastes in music, all three of us. But there's certain songs that do connect us, and that we are singing our hearts out. Whitney does feature on that playlist, and that's
Yeah.
surprising. Um, but it's like it's connected to that joy and that kind of connection between the three of us as well. But it's special moments like that which are priceless as well, aren't they? But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Music is the answer.
it most definitely is. So, have you got any pearls of wisdom along so on your journey? Obviously, you've trained from dance and where you are now. Any kind of pearls of wisdom that you share along your journey? Any lessons, blessings?
I, do you know what? Self-awareness is the first step. You, you have to have a level of awareness and a level of desire to where you want to be before you can instill anything. If you've not got awareness, you know, it's hard to start putting practices in if there's you don't know where you're getting to and what you want to move away from. So I think it's having that awareness of going, where am I feeling good and what perhaps isn't working for me anymore, and noticing, is it situations, is it certain feelings that are coming up through the day, and then having a like tracking that. So maybe just keeping a journal or even a simple habit tracker, because when you we there's so much of our life that is unconscious because there's too much information for our brain to bring to our attention. You know, it's filtered, and so we might not be fully aware of how we go about our day sometimes. So having that awareness, and then, you know, if you're wanting to feel less stressed, then you can start by just connecting into the breath and making sure that you've got some kind of movement. And that might be going up and down your stairs a few times, doing a few squats, putting your favorite song on and just letting loose in the kitchen, or going for a walk. But movement is medicine. Movement and music, what we've already talked about, music can help that. And just connecting into your breath and letting it be slow. Use your nose to breathe. Let it be slow. Let your exhale last a little bit longer than your inhale. And give yourself a moment just to tune in and just connect into your body. And as you give yourself those moments, then your mind has a little bit of space. So you can start to bring that attention and that awareness into what you do want. And then from there, you know, you journal. Take those moments to find a little bit more joy in your day. Make a note of it. Feel gratitude for it. Play more music. Or just do the thing, you know, if gardening's your thing, if, you know, writing's your thing, if reading's your thing, just like consciously choose it. So, right, I'm prioritizing some joy right now and do it. So there's probably a few things within that. But knowing actually what you want is knowing what you want and having that self-awareness and just knowing what the gap is will allow you then to make those changes. But your body and your breath are all absolutely key in whatever you're going to go forward and do.
It's interesting you say that about knowing yourself. And I think as women, we sometimes lose sight of that through responsibilities through life, that perimenopause can start perhaps exposing that a little bit more, where it becomes a little more obvious that you've prioritized everyone else apart from yourself. Through some of the conversations I've had with other people on the podcast, perimenopause starts to be that time where you are then putting yourself first for the first time after many years. And it's relearning that as well, which is really empowering, but also can be a little unnerving sometimes as well, because it kind of shines a light on you.
Yeah, and if you've been prioritizing everyone else and going, well, I've not got time for me because I'm doing this, and I get it as a, you know, I've got two children who are teenagers now, and so I'm finding I've got more time for me again. And yes, what you've just said, absolutely, you start to become a little bit more aware, and you just give less, you know.
Can I swear word there?
Yeah, can I swear?
Yeah, you can swear.
You just give less fucks, don't you? And it's like your tolerance for bullshit just is like, oh no, I'm not dealing with that. And it's almost a little bit and I might have said this at the beginning, that inner teenager, that person you were at 16, who was she that she wanted to strive out into the world and be, and all that possibility? It's like you're reconnecting into her and loving her again and going, yeah, we're still going to hit the dance floor, and we're still going and doing the things we want to do. But if you've buried her under the weight of all the responsibility that you've taken on. And I tell you what, there's so many women who literally bury themselves under it because people pleasing is actually a stress response, like it's part of the fawn response, like making sure everyone else is okay. And then all of a sudden you've got more time. That can feel a little bit unnerving. And again, this is where sometimes a community or support from people who can, give you a bit of guidance and direction with that can come in useful, so you don't get lost in anxiety and worry and concern, because actually you deserve to explore and know what it is, what are your desires. And if they're not at the forefront of your mind, you might need that time to explore that and find it and notice what it is that you might have wanted. Do you still want that? Is it something fresh? Have life circumstances changed the direction? Is it something else that you now know is what you want? And is it a full body want, or is it a, oh well, that'll be good for the future, which is boring, but might not light you up in the way that, finding something that gives that whole body light up, the energy and the vitality that will give you is different from going, oh well, if I choose to do this, then maybe this and this will happen and it'll be good for me. There's lots of logical, but what do you actually want?
A full body yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
again, sometimes that logic gets in the way, and we have to learn to trust ourselves. But trusting ourselves, we need to connect with ourselves, and we've been so disconnected. So
yeah,
it's coming back to that, isn't it?
yeah. That connection back in body and breath and music are the ways in.
Mm,
Absolutely.
definitely. But tell me, what's next? What's next for you? Business wise, kind of where are you going? Obviously, you touched on your DJing, but what's next? What's next for Cat?
So, well, we're in Stress Awareness Month currently. So, at the end of this month, I have a free workshop called Release Your Stress, which people can join me on. If this is being listened to outside of April, then following that workshop, I've got a 6-week program called the Stress Reset Live, which runs alongside my online course called Stress 101. So you kind of get the course, but you also get weekly live sessions with me. So it offers community and accountability alongside the self study of the course, which I've found is really beneficial. And if that goes well, then that will be like something I do at different times throughout the year. So um, it'll be like a 6-week container where we program, we're in a community together where we really understand stress for ourselves and how it shows up and what we can do about it on a personal level. So it's not like everybody's going to do this. Obviously, I will be offering things like dance. Whilst I'm not teaching a physical yoga class at the moment, I've got plenty of videos that I can kind of channel through that as well. So people have the option. And that's where my focus is at the moment. I've got my coaching one-to-one as well, which then is the hybrid coaching. So I'll pull all my knowledge together to suit that person who's in front of me, and help them, take the steps that they need to achieve their goals. And I haven't got much further beyond that. So that's where I'm looking at the moment. Yeah.
And if there was anyone listening that was particularly struggling with stress or any other health matters, what kind of advice or suggestions could you give to person to probably help them on that journey before maybe seeking out more support? What steps could people take on a day-to-day basis?
Slow down. I mean, if if it's stress, chronic stress leads to illness because when you're in a stress state, your body is primed to do something. It either needs to fight or run away or hide or do something else. And in that moment, your nervous system is only concerned with keeping you safe. So it forgets and switches off your immune system, your digestion, and your rational thinking. So completing the stress response is important so that everything else comes back online. And when we're in chronic stress, all of that is disrupted. And that is why you end up with disease and illness. It's not the stress itself, it's because being in a stress state switches everything off. And I think that's a really crucial thing to understand because some stress can be beneficial and we have, natural rises in cortisol. So just taking time for movement and then rest. So the two together, movement and rest, can allow you some space for your mind to think about what's next. And when you're in that stressed state, you've got different parts of your brain active, so you can get into a loop of worry, and that can keep you in a stress state as well. So the actual rational, like problem solving, creative part of our brain comes back online when we have completed the stress response. So I think understanding that, so movement, breath, then think about what's next, it will be a slightly different process and outcome than if you're trying to do it from that stressed out state.
And it's valuable advice about how we can learn to better understand ourselves in those situations and taking that time and care for ourselves, which will then benefit other people when we are a little more mindful about ourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and when you're coming from a regulated state, everyone around you gets an opportunity to regulate as well. Um, and yeah, and when you understand, some of the things that I teach through the course, when you can like recognize, oh, that behavior is linked to that stress response, you start to notice people around you go, oh, okay, yeah, you're in a fight response, you're in a flight response, okay, yeah, the procrastination, yeah. And it's little things like that you're like, oh, that makes sense now.
Yeah, that's great advice. So how can people get in touch with you, Kat? How's best to contact you about course and other events that you've got coming up?
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? The platform that I'm usually the most active on is Instagram. And so it's at This Vibrant Life with Cat, but that same handle is the same for Facebook as well. And you can just message me on there. If you don't have Instagram or Facebook, then my email is info at thisvibrantlife.co.uk. And you can get in touch with me any of those ways. I'll always reply to my DMs. So that's usually the best way to get hold of me. And there's links in my bio as well. But if you can't find anything, I don't have an actual website at the moment. Everything's through my socials. I do have a LinkedIn profile as well, which is Cat Merrick. But I'm not as good on there. So Instagram and Facebook are the best places.
Great. Thanks, Kat. It's been an actual pleasure to speak to you, find out more about you and your journey.
Oh, thanks, Marie. It's been a pleasure to be chatting to you today.
You're welcome. Take care.
See you later.